buy two types of passion fruit. You can buy a grafted passion fruit or a seedling passion fruit. A seedling passion fruit is more suited for a place if you live north of Brisbane. A grafted passion fruit, because of the rootstock we graft onto, is suitable for the southern climate. So if you're wanting to grow a passion fruit vine, I suggest for best results that you get yourself a grafted passion fruit. So basically what you'll see here is that we have a grafted passion fruit. Springtime is the best time to plant your passion fruit. So now is the time to get in the garden and plant your vine. When you're planting your vine, it's very important to ensure that you've got enough fertiliser or energy in the ground. The best fertiliser for your passion fruit vine is a fertiliser that's high in nitrogen with traces of iron. So in the past, people have used chook manure, blood and bone, both very rich in iron and nitrogen. And if you don't like the smell of either, you could use a synthetic fertiliser which has the same makeup. Planting your passion fruit in the spring will get you to have good growth of your vine. It will take 18 months for you to get fruit off your vine, so 2 summers. The real key with your passion fruit is to, I thought that was for me, Liz. Thank you. Lunch just gone past. So we'll go back to it. So spring's the best time to plant the passion fruit vine. It'll take 2 summers for that vine to fruit. What you've got to look for is that during that 18 months, is that you don't get any shoots growing from below the grass. Now, occasionally you can get a shoot appear from below the grass, from the wild rootstock. The labelling tells quite clearly the best way to treat a shoot from below the grass is to cut it off with a sharp knife or blade. This will blind the offending shoot and you won't have a problem. If you tend to pull the shoot out or rip the shoot out of the ground, you'll fracture the root system, it'll cause multiple suckers to come up and cause you problems. So it's very important, if a shoot appears below the grass, cut it off with a sharp knife or blade. As your passion fruit's growing, there's no need to put any fertiliser onto it until we get to the following August and September. Now, August and September is the best time to prune your passion fruit. You remove a third of the growth, and by removing a third of the growth, you're encouraging the new growth to come up. The new growth will support the flowers being the fruit. So what we'll see after pruning is that we'll put some fertiliser on our vine, and it's best to spread the fertiliser over a wide area at the base of the vine because the passion fruit has a surface root. It spreads over a wide area, but being a surface root, it doesn't go down very far. So spreading the fertiliser over a wide area will ensure enough energy will get into that vine. During late October, November, after pruning, the new growth will support the flowers, and then those flowers will set as fruit. Now, as the fruit's setting, it is very important then to keep the water up to the vine. We're going to go into the hot months of summer, and if we don't get enough water into the vine, and by getting enough water into the vine, I suggest that we're watering again over a wide area at the base of the vine, so all the root can pick up the water. If we don't get enough water into the vine, we'll find that we'll have passion fruit developing with little or no pulp. So you may have experienced opening up a passion fruit and seeing that there's not much pulp in it. It really is indicative of that vine not getting enough water as the fruit is forming. So again, during the hot months of the summer, while the fruit is setting, very important to get the water up to the vine and to spread the water over a wide area at the base of the vine. You don't have to go silly on pouring water into it. You really just need to ensure that the surrounds of the vine are moist, and that will do the job for you. we'll find that by the time we get through the warm months of the summer, the fruit's ripening. So it is then your chance to either pick the fruit as it turns colour, or wait for it to drop on the ground. Traditionally, people have waited for the passion fruit to drop, but I do like the fact that if your passion fruit has already turned colour on the vine, best then to pick your fruit straight off the vine using a pair of secateurs just to cut the sticks. So as we go forward after that time, you've got your fruit, we'll start heading into the winter. And what will happen is that occasionally you may see a flower appear, you may even see some green fruit develop during the winter time. That is not going to serve any purpose to it, so we won't have the warmth for that fruit to ripen. So best then to wait until we get to August, September when we go to prune the vine again. And like I said, when we're pruning the vine, we'll take a third of the growth off the vine, take up any green fruit that's there, put the fertiliser down, and we're ready for another season. A good, healthy passion fruit should give you anything between, say, 6 and 10 years of productivity, and that, again, is the value of having a grafted vine. It's very, very easy to maintain if you just follow those simple instructions of pruning early in the spring, keeping the water up to it in the summer, and all the rest is very, very easy. So, again, a grafted vine far more suited for our climate down here, and again, the cold climate rootstock will give you more vigour, more fruit, and more durability to your vine. Any questions?
How is it with frost?
Excuse me? How is it with frost? A grafted vine will have more vigour to put up with the frost. And so if we get 1, 2 or 3 days in a row of frost, it's not going to be an issue. If we had 10, 11 or 12 days of frost, it may cause some problems, but it will cause problems for most things in the garden. So again, the cold tolerant rootstock will give the vigour to the vine to survive a frost. As I said before, a non-grafted vine, the first hint of a frost will kill it back.
How much sunlight?
Okay, so what we're really after is that during the summer, if we can get anything between, say, 6 and 8 hours of sunlight, it's enough for the vine to produce. It is enough for the vine with the heat around for the fruit to ripen. So if you're planting it on a trellis, and to have a successful vine, you really need to have a trellis to support the vine. You can pick a spot where maybe it may even get some afternoon shade, because as we know, full sun around 4, 5 or 6 o'clock at night on certain days may be detrimental to the plant. It will survive, but you may see some issues with some leaves shriveling. You may see that some of the passion fruit and the waxy layer on the passion fruit might be affected by the heat, and the pulp will dry out in the fruit. So if you're able to get a large number of hours in the sun and maybe somewhere where the shade might come out in the afternoon, it's fine. But you can have it in full sun. But on the really hot days, you're going to have a couple of issues. Please.
Ian, you touched on trellising.
Yes.
There's so many different types of trellising, whether you do single wires or Rios or lattice, or what's the best way you've seen passion fruit grow?
Okay, so there's numerous ways of having trellis, and you've mentioned the Rio or a wire trellis affixed to a fence. That's fine. Just the only downside of affixing trellis work to a fence, if you've got a collar-bottom fence, it will get too hot during the summer and radiate too much heat into the vine, which will be detrimental to the effect of having a good passion fruit vine. But a wooden structure, trellis, a wire structure, whatever it is, it's got to be firmly fixed because the weight of the vine, especially when it's carrying fruit, you know, you could be upwards of 60 or 80 kilograms. So you've got to have some strength on your trellis to support that vine, so that the fruit time when it's full of fruit, it doesn't fall over. Yes.
We planted some Nellie Kellys maybe 5 years ago or more, but I put them on the north side of the shed. And I don't know if that's just too much heat, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's in a veggie garden area.
Yes.
But it seems, and we've had citrus trees in front of them, so they're getting some blocked sun, but yeah, they didn't sort of survive, they didn't do well. I'm not sure if the heat of the shed behind it.
Yes.
I kind of did this wire lattice, a
Yes.
wire run, and
did you plant in the spring or did you plant in the summer? Do you remember?
I can't remember.
We did get some green passionfruit, but they didn't ripen. They
Yes.
just stayed green.
So maybe those green passionfruit may have come
From
after the summer.
Oh yeah.
And so they were sitting on the vine as we went into the winter. They won't ripen because we won't have the heat.
And we've never cut it back.
Yeah. So that's where it's important. Again, I'll come back to just your initial vine first. Is that, you know, by planting your vine at this time of the year, you give it a really good chance to develop without the stresses of the weather.
Yes.
And so if you plant, you know, later, and if you plant, say, in the summer,
Yeah.
the ground may be just too dry, ground,
Yeah.
air temperature's too hot, hot northerlies blowing through, all that can affect
Yeah.
the growth of the vine. So growing in, or planting out in the spring, you get a far better chance to get your vine established before we get to the harshness of the summer.
Yeah.
Green fruit coming through is probably a product of the vine flowering late, so probably flowering after November or December, and the flowers have then developed into fruit maybe during the autumn.
Yeah.
And so basically what would happen is that they would just sit on the vine as green.
Yeah.
And so what we would do then is that we'd wait till late August, early September when we prune the vine and remove that fruit. Because there's no point leaving old green fruit on the vine. What you want to do is encourage the new growth to come up, which will then support flowers and more fruit. Hello.
When you're taking the fruit off, cut them off or pluck them off?
Yeah, so for minimal damage to your vine, it's far better to use a pair of seconds if you want to take the fruit off before it drops to cut it. And leave a bit of stem on your fruit, and that will just give you a little bit more longevity after you fix it. But some people will prefer to let the fruit drop naturally, and what happens is as the fruit's ripening, or has ripened, the stem will start shrinking, and the weight of the fruit will make the fruit drop from the vine, and you've just got to go around and pick it up. One of the issues that I would like to put forward is that if you've got a vine full of ripened fruit, far better to go and get that fruit off the vine when it has changed colour and it's ripe, because it's ready to eat once it's changed colour. Otherwise, you may come out one morning and there might be a flock of coffee sitting on top of your vine, eating all your passion fruit. You've waited one day too late. So that's important too.
And does the fruit become sweeter the longer it stays on the vine?
As soon as that fruit has changed colour and it goes through the phase of green with a tinge of black to purple, when it's got a full change of colour and it's purple, you're not going to get the vine, or you're not going to get the fruit any sweeter. So once the colour change has happened, it's far best then to pick your fruit. Any other questions? Yes?
How much vine space? How it stays?
Okay, so look, a really good healthy vine is probably going to cover maybe 4 to 8 square metres. So it depends on what you want to have in your garden. So let's say, for example, you only want to put up a 4 metre square trellis. What you could do is train your vine into that 4 square metre area and just cut the ends of the levers so it doesn't impact on anything else in your garden. But a really good healthy vine could cover anything up to 8 square metres. And a healthy vine will produce you anything, say, from 400 pieces of fruit to 800 pieces of fruit per season. So it's a lot of fruit. And once you start getting those numbers over 400, you know you've got yourself a healthy vine. Yes?
Can you grow it with a grapevine?
Look, they're not really great competitors, so it's best to grow them separately. There's an issue with grapes that they do attract phytophthora, which is a root disease, and because the passion fruit has this fibrous root system, it may not be a good idea.
Even an ornamental grapevine?
Yeah. So just have them separate. Next. What's that cake nice one?
Oh, it's hot.
Hey,
I got one for you.
Thank you. It's not great.
Just wondering, passion fruit, I know like certain trees, like pomegranates, the skin of it's so hard that fruit fly can't get in.
That's right.
Does passion fruit, is that fall into that category?
Yes, it does.
It does. So
Yeah.
they don't get affected by fruit flies?
No, so
No.
what you really tend to find is that it's more of those soft skin fruits that
Yeah.
are really affected by fruit flies.
Yeah.
Passion fruit has a very thick outer skin with a waxy layer around it, and the fruit fly just has no hope of impregnating that. And so,
Yeah.
no, you're right.
No, that's good. I wasn't sure where that.
No fruit, we're fruit fly free.
Yeah, no. Very good.
Yes.
If we're wanting to plant a number of plants along a long trellis, what space should we use to do it?
Yeah, so look, I really would suggest that, you're planting those vines at even 3 metre centres, maybe even a little bit more, because you've got to look at the fact that you're easily going to get that spread on each side of the trunk of 2 to 2.5 metres. So 3 metres. Oh, sorry, I'll go back a second because my maths aren't working well today. I'm far better to probably have them at least 3 to 4 metre separation from centre to centre. Some of them are obviously going to grow into each other and you're going to make yourself a hedge. That's not going to pose too many problems. But if you put them too close together, they're just going to crowd each other out. And they're such vigorous growers, you're going to get enormous coverage with them anyway. But for the sake of business, I like your idea, okay? Find plenty. Yes, I'll show them. Yes, ma'am. The man in the blue shirt?
What about farm fences, like along the side of it? Say you have a farm fence, do they get affected by wind or like, I love mulching.
Yes.
So can I throw heaps of mulch around them? I don't like watering that much, but maybe
Well, you're not going to be good for passion fruit in the summer, and that's going to be a problem. And look, really, a farm fence is probably not going to be high enough for you. And one of the issues about having trellis up high is that you're getting the light and air blowing through the vine as well. The light and air helps keeping the vine healthy, and also it does help with the pollination if the bees are a little bit slow, because the flowers will pollinate by the bees. But just a standard fence is not going to be enough.
So a deer fence would be okay, but not,
Yes.
not all.
But you just need to make sure that a lower form of fence is just not going to be satisfactory to get the right growth you want. Yes. So basically what we'd be looking at is that when we're pruning, we look at the side of the vine. So here we've got the trellis, and here we've got the vine growing here, and the overhang coming out. It's really best just to shear the face of that overhang, remove that, don't cut off what's already attached to the trellis work, leave that, but you'll see in amongst the trellis there'll be lots of dead leaves and things like that. You can take all those out, and by pruning and removing the old leaves from the previous season's growth will also help with the fact of preventing disease in your vine. If you leave too much old growth in there and it dies off, you run the risk of getting funguses in there and things like that. So again, pruning is very important for the health of the vine, but secondly, setting up the fruiting schedule. Next.
Sorry. Is the wide tail planting the cows either underneath them true? Is that what you should do?
Now.
Have you not heard?
Now.
No.
No. You're on the money list.
Yeah,
and so basically, what happened in the good old days,
Yeah.
not many good old days people in the room, but I can tell you, is that when you planted the passion fruit, you would be encouraged to plant a sheep liver or an ox heart at the base of the vine. And so basically the iron and nitrogen in that was satisfactory for good growth. But today we have so many options of fertiliser and we lack really good butchers who used to have an ox heart or a liver in the window, that we don't have that opportunity. And today we use a lot more different fertilisers, but we still use blood and bone and or chook manure, which are ideal. But it's not an old wives' tale, it's a tried and true method. Yes. Hello.
Hi, just need to tips for when you're planting.
The area where you want to plant your vine, you should probably about 3 months out, just work some chook manure or some blood and bone into that area. And maybe if it's a garden bed of, 2 square metres, you work that material into the ground so that when you plant the vine, you would only plant the vine as deep as the pot. So you wouldn't want to bury it any deeper. And so once that vine is in the ground and you put all that energy of the chook manure or the blood and bone, the roots are going to come out very quickly and that will give you very good growth. So if we're planting early in spring, it's a job to do during the winter time and just prepare the garden bed. And then you'll get really good results. And like all things, if you don't do the preparation, you may not or you will not get the right result. Thank you. Look, the chook manure and the blood and bone are really proven as far as being good. Cow. No, they're not as good. Okay? So I reckon that we get rid of all the other animals and get plenty of children. But yeah, look, the cow manure, even cow manure broken down, just is not as good. Whereas horses, the same thing, not nowhere near as good. So we don't get the high levels of iron and nitrogen out of horse manure and cow manure. Can I tell you, when I was 6 years old, my grandfather used to go to the Exton race course and pick up horse manure, and then he'd bring it home in a bag and tip it into a 44-gallon drum, fill it up with water, and get us kids to stir it up. Of course. And then he would have a little tap at the bottom and he'd go around and throw it everywhere. I used to think it was very successful, but as I've grown up, I just think it was a lot of hard work and it wasn't as good as what but it won't give you the real result that you want from your passion fruit.
Yeah, see, we did down at the morning when I was ourselves taking it from the farm.
Yes.
And, well, it was very hard work, but I reckon it was good on the fruit tree, but I don't think about anything else.
Yes. So I can remember back in my grandfather's case, he used to grow some beautiful strawberries. I can't remember him ever growing a really great passionfruit. So maybe that's where he missed out. Was, you know, I wasn't smart enough then to tell him where it was going wrong. Yeah, and what you're saying works. You know, it's fantastic because, you know, again, just digressing a little bit, the more that we can, you know, get fertiliser made up into a liquid form, the easier it is for the plants to absorb it in through their roots, and it's quicker.
What area do you reckon the root system would make it?
So,
once it's
yeah.
gone.
So a rule of thumb is to look at what is grown above the ground would give you a bit of an idea of the spread below the ground of that root system. So it's not unusual to have a root system of 4 or 5 square metres, and that's where sometimes we may see that root system sucker if it hits a concrete path or something else away from the main garden bed, and it may send up a shoot. And as I said before, if the sucker comes up, we cut off a chunk. But yeah, looking at what's above the ground is indicative of what you'll find below the ground.
Okay. And the one plant, how much, say, root space or that area?
Okay, so again, it is looking at your vine, and let's say, for example, we're using, we could use 4 or 5 cups of that over that area, that 3 or 4 square metre area, and water it in. Yes.
When you grow it in a very large pot with the support, and keep it too small?
Yeah, so you can do that, and it's important to keep the size of the plant down. In that pot, you either have a trellis attached at the back of it or whatever, but you do need something of a diameter of about that, because anything smaller, the root system's going to come out very quickly, hit the sides and want to run up.
It might be a good option when I've got cover on little areas and
Yes.
it's too hot.
Yeah, so a big tub is ideal, but you really need to have something that's decent diameter. Otherwise, you'll be... No, you don't have to be really deep with it, because the fact is that, you know, the root system's only going to go down that much. So, you know, the depth isn't really an issue. It's really the width of how it will spread out.
And mulching?
Mulching, yeah, we recommend. The real key about mulching is to make sure you don't build your mulch up towards the graft, because if you start getting mulch around the graft, it'll cause a colour rush. So again, mulching ideal to keep that moisture in the ground, but don't build up so high that you start covering the graft. That's very important. Thank you very much. I appreciate you coming. Now, Liz, the cream cake, let's go.